Hi, everyone. Do you ever wonder how some people can get more done in 4 hours than you can in 8? Do you have a never ending to do list that you can never quite complete? Are you always feeling behind? And are you always worried and feeling frustrated? Well, stay right there because tonight I have Hugo from Time Flies. Hugo is a productivity and time management expert. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bite Size Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. I'm Mary Fain Brandt, CEO and host of tonight's show. Let me go ahead and bring Hugo on so he can say hello to everyone. Hugo, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Hi, bonjour. Hi, everyone.
Okay, we all love your accent. It's pretty darn cool.
Thank you very much.
So, Hugo, I'm going to do the little bit of intro for you, but you guys, before we get started and we start diving in to how you can manage your time better and be more productive, I don't think I know anyone who doesn't want to be more productive. And if you're that person, you're like, you know what, Mary? I don't need any time management. I'm as productive. I'm at 100%. I want you to drop in the comments 100% because I want to talk to you. Okay. So you guys, before we get started, I want you to hit that share button below, really, right here below, whatever platform you're on, share this live video out because we all know someone who needs to be a little more productive and who's a little stressed out, never has enough time. Maybe they're late to everything. We're going to dive in to how we can be more productive and manage our time. Now, you guys, I'd love to know where my audience is watching from. So go ahead and type in the comments what city, state, or country you're in, because we've built a global network here on LinkedIn. And Hugo's a time management and productivity expert for organizational and strategy consultant for a very diverse client base. And I'm going to let Hugo dive into that in just a little bit. But I want to tell you guys right off the bat, the 3 topics, the 3 points that we're going to talk about tonight. So number 1, audit where your time goes. And I think that kind of speaks for itself, but Hugo's going to dive into that. Focus on value added. I'm curious what you mean by that. And the 3rd tip is to treat feedback as a gift. So I'm really curious to see what you're going to say about that. Now, you guys know how the format goes. Before we dive into the topics, I always like to tell everybody how I've met. Let me see if I can do this right. How I've met my guests. Yeah. Now, does anyone want to take a guess of how I met Hugo? Anybody? I'm gonna watch comments. So I have a couple devices up, you guys, because with all of these great streaming tools, you can't see the comments. So just so that you know, I'm gonna go over here, see if we have any comments. If you guys can hear and see us okay, can I get, a thumbs up or some hearts? I'd love that. So Hugo and I met, of course, on my favorite platform, LinkedIn. No surprise there, right, guys? But even more than that, yeah, Hugo saw one of my posts and then he attended our LinkedIn local event in August. I remember you were so excited. Oh, I can't wait to meet you. I'm going to be there. And I think you were running late, but you got there and we snapped a selfie. We got to actually meet each other in person. And then from that, we've had some conversations. I saw the work that he was doing. I was like, this is the perfect fit for January. So we've actually been planning this show for 2 months now?
Yeah, 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to work ahead of time. I think that's called being productive and
good on you. Yeah, good on
right?
you.
So, Hugo, why don't you tell us how did you get started as a productivity and time management coach? Take us on your journey and give us any like little tips or tell us what it was like for you. Maybe you've always been good with your time, or maybe something happened in your life where you realized you needed to be better with your time management.
Actually, I've been pretty awful with my time management. Like naturally, I've been pretty awful. And that's why having some strategies and some tips to actually be better with my time that really helped me. That's why I got into it and want to share with other people because these tips and strategy work for me. So why not sharing them with other people? The thing is, so I'm an engineer, so I'm French. If you can't hear from my accent, so I'm French, and I started working in consulting in 2011. And I worked for Accenture and other consulting group, always in helping clients be streamline their processes, be more efficient, having happier customers, and all these things. And I always had this roadblock whenever I was implementing solutions with my client. They never had time. So they say, "Oh yeah, Hugo, that's great what you're telling us. This sounds like a great idea, but we don't have time to implement this." And that kind of frustrates me because the solution I'm providing to you is supposed to make you save time. But of course, it requires a little bit of investment up front, but this is going to make your life easier. And I face that so many times with people not wanting to facilitate their own life and spend less time on their processes. So that was kind of frustrating to me. So I was like, okay, I'm Lean Six Sigma black belt certified. So all these concepts coming from Toyota and Motorola that help streamline processes. I take all of these and I apply them not only on processes but to people and how they can be more performant, more productive using these concepts.
So would you say that you actually have to train them on how to have a different mindset? Because I know I'm guilty. Like right now, I always say, I'm busy. I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time. I can't do that. I don't have time. So I think part of it kind of maybe, and you'll probably touch on this, but a lot of it starts with our mind, our mindset, right?
Exactly. And when people tell me I don't have time, well, yeah, people when tell me that, I just like, it really frustrates me. And people know that they shouldn't say this sentence right in front of me because it's all about priorities. And you say it's mindset, it's how you perceive life. Everything is perception, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not that you don't have time, it's just you don't make time for things. It's not high enough in your priority list. So when people tell you, I couldn't stop by or say hi because I didn't have time. No, you had something that was higher in your priority list, and that's fine. But saying always I don't have time puts you kind of in a negative spiral.
Absolutely. So let's get into that. Number one topic that we're going to talk about tonight is audit where your time goes. Can you walk us through, what do you mean by that? And can you walk us through how we would do that?
Yeah, sure. So there is so much value in auditing where your time goes. When people say I don't have time or anything in that sense, most of them don't actually know factually where their time goes. And it's just about, as I said earlier, perception. So, but why you should do it? What does it mean, audit where your time goes? I usually recommend it to my students and my clients to do it during 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks? Because if you do it for one day, it might change. Every day is a little bit different. If you do it just for 1 week, it might not be enough. That week might be a little bit different than any other week. And usually, if you research a little bit, you see that the sweet spot is 2 weeks. It's not too long, not too short, and you have good amount of data to know where your time actually goes. So why you should actually do it? Because it brings data, it brings fact to know exactly where your time goes. And you cannot improve your time management. You cannot reduce time spent on this activity if you don't have measurements. You cannot improve what you cannot measure. And that comes back to the background that I have in improvement of the performance. Is an improvement of performance is the delta between two measurements, one before and one after. And the measurement after showing a better performance than before.
So how do we go about when you're working with your clients? I understand that we need to audit our time. It's kind of like when people say, write down like what you're eating, or let's go with, one of those finances things. So they say, write down every penny that you spend so you can get an idea of where you're at. So that's kind of what I'm understanding. Write down where you spend your time for 2 weeks. I like that it's a 2-week format. It's not a month. That's overwhelming. Yeah. And you're right. A day isn't enough and probably a week isn't. But are you telling people to like keep a notebook with them and write down all their time? Or what does that look like when you're working with a client? How do you ask them to audit their time?
You have different people, like some people like digital things. You have time trackers, some apps, or you can go with a notebook. It's been proven that by writing has an effect on improving, like memorizing better. So some people like paper. I'm this type of person. Or you have something in the middle. You can use Excel or some very basic tool to know where your time goes. So yeah, 2 weeks is good. 4 times a year. You shouldn't do it all the time, but kind of check in with yourself to know, to constantly throughout the year know where your time goes. But the thing is, it brings facts and it's unchallengeable. Usually people say, oh, I spend too much time at work. I spend like 50, 60 hours a week. But when you audit, when you look from a very factual standpoint, you see that you don't spend that much time at work, actually. And that kind of people that go through this exercise, they are usually very amazed by the results, because they stop managing by emotions and they stop managing by anecdotes. They start managing by data. And if you're in a corporate job, you know that data is important. If you're an entrepreneur, you know that data is important. And that applies also to your personal life. Having, as you said, even like same as for financials, writing down, you can go back to it anytime, and you don't have memory actually blurring your perception of where your time goes. So when I work with my clients, I always do this exercise several times a year, and that usually brings a lot of benefits.
I love it. Thank you. We're having a couple little technical difficulties. So for our viewers out there, the sound seems to be coming through just fine, but Hugo's face is getting a little blurred there. So, just listen carefully to what he's saying. We're trying to work that out, and it could just be a glitch with technology, because technology is not perfect, right? So we'll just see if that continues to go or if it fixes itself. And
too bad I was doing funny faces.
Yeah.
You missed it all.
You're just kind of blurry, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm kind of watching it on different devices to see what happens, because ironically, I'm watching my phone over here and it looks better now. So maybe it'll clear up. So,
okay.
So we're talking about auditing where our time goes, and let's review that. So you said we need to do it for a minimum of 2 weeks to get an accurate reading of how we're spending our time. And I'm just going to put it out there, you guys. I always say I'm busy, and people are always saying, Mary, I don't know how you do it. You're so busy. But I have to say, like, I go down the Facebook rabbit hole. That's probably my worst rabbit hole. And Netflix. Like, that's our thing. We watch a show every night, which isn't too bad. But once in a while, we go on a movie binge, my husband and I. And so I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do that. And you're right. It's not that I don't have time, is I'm choosing to spend my time a different way.
Yeah.
So
it's all about priorities. That's why Sherry and I, we don't have TV, so that we don't even have the temptation.
I like it. Like, I used to feel guilty about it, honestly, because I was like, oh, I should be doing more. I should be doing more. But when I was working with a therapist a few years ago, it's like, that's my checkout time. So for me, like watching a show, just kind of like, I don't really have to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
So my brain, because I'm always thinking and always on the go. I am. That's just who I am.
And that's fine. That's fine. People shouldn't be too hard on themselves, and intentionally wasting time, because you can say Netflix is wasting time, but intentionally wasted time is not actually time wasted. You know that you need that time. Yes. You know that I need to just to power off for an hour. I'm just going to look something very stupid that does not require any brain power, and that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, because we all need to recharge our batteries, however that is. And it could be a day in bed, or a day on the couch watching some movies. During the holiday times, I watch the Hallmark Channel. I love the sappy Hallmark Christmas movies. It puts me in that Christmas spirit. And again, I'm not using brain power because we all know how they end. The girl gets the new guy, right? There's always a love story and it always works out. So it is important to check out. And so that's my checkout time. But now it's like the beginning of the year and I'm like hitting it hard.
But if I can add something
Yes.
to it, it's a little bit more subtle. It's just there is a misconception about time when you watch Netflix for an hour. You feel like you lost an hour, but you're not actually losing an hour. Time, the effect of in your productivity compounds. If you're doing something that is purely unproductive and that sets you in bad negative mood, it has an effect on the next hour and the next hours. That's why people are adamant about morning routines, because if you start your day the perfect way for you, and not perfect doesn't mean the same thing for everyone, but it sets you in a good position, in the right momentum for what's going next. So if you choose to spend an hour doing something that energizes you, or 1 hour doing something else that doesn't energize you, then it sets you for success or for failure for what's coming next. So 1 hour doesn't equal 1 hour.
I like it. I like it. And you're right. Like if it's a negative, like if you feel bad and it doesn't fulfill you in a way, then you are losing that hour. But it really fulfills me. It kind of winds me down at night. Because if I were to jump into bed and just try to go to sleep, my brain hasn't had time to turn off yet.
Yeah, and there are best practices and there are things that work for most people, but it's all about knowing yourself and what works for you.
Awesome. So that's very helpful, auditing our time, just like we would our finances, right? You audit your finances and hopefully you're on a budget and you review that. You need to audit your time and review where you're spending your time. If you think you don't have time, let's look at where you're actually spending your time and fess up if it's down the Facebook rabbit hole. I'm trying not to do that as much this year. But when you do check out, allow yourself to totally be present in checking out so you can recharge your batteries.
Yeah.
So focus on value added. Why don't you tell us what you mean by that and how we would go about achieving that?
Yeah. So value, we talk about value. We see on social media, I want to bring value to my clients. I want to bring value to my community and etc. And that's fine. The question I have for you guys today is, what do we call actually value, bringing value? What does it mean? As you cannot answer to me right now, because it's kind of a one-way thing, unless you have something to want to contribute to Mary right now. But I have a definition of what is to bring value and adding value. Adding value is actually contributing to a goal, whether it's a personal goal or it's a professional goal or corporate goal. It means that any time spent on this specific activity helps you contributing to your goal. That's value add and bringing value. And I like talking about value add, but also to the opposites of what I call value add, which is non-value add. So far, so good, makes sense. But there is something in the middle between value add, bringing value, aligned to the goal, non-value add, not bringing value, not aligned to the goal. There is something in the middle that I call, from a time management perspective, non-personal value add. This is time spent on something that is not directly linked to your goal or not completely opposite to your goal. It's something in the middle that is necessary, time necessary. You were talking about watching Netflix for an hour to recharge. It's not linked to your goal. We could argue that it's completely non-value add, but for you, Mary, it helps you recharge so that you are better set for spending time on value add that will help you reach your goal. So I like always having these three definitions: value add, non-value add, and non-personal value add. From a business point of view, we can call them non-business value add. And we were talking about auditing your time earlier. Usually at 30 minutes down to the 30 minutes granularity or 1 hour granularity, you can look at your whole audit plan, where your time is going, and you can assess the time here from like Monday from 9 to 10, is it value add? Is it non-value add or non-personal value add? And that will bring a aha moment for you when you look at the amount of time that you spend on actually value add aligned to your goals and the amount of time that you're losing. That's gonna light a little bulb here.
I had a big light bulb today because I added a ton of value to my goals today. So if I can just like listening to what you're saying, I can relate to this today because I had my GSD day, which is my get stuff done day with four other colleagues, businesswomen. We try to do it like once a quarter, if not more. And we just got together and we worked, we connect. My husband, I got home and he's like, wow, you're just like super happy. And, you know, I just seemed like full of energy and stuff. I was like, that's because I was working with my other entrepreneurs today and they fulfill me, right? They fill me up. We're collaborating and we went through a checklist, Mary Rose and I, right? My co-host for LinkedIn Local San Diego. And we were just like, boom, 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 getting stuff done. And so it really added a lot of value, right? The time I spent, the 3 hours this morning added value to me achieving my goals for the LinkedIn Local and some other things. So I felt like I had a very productive day that helped me reach my goals.
And it's a win-win because it helps you reach your goal. I don't know what you were working on, but you got a lot of stuff done. But also, as we were saying before, it energized you, right? You can, when you get your audit, and you can look at what you're doing, but also you can audit on who you're spending time with, right?
How does it make you feel, right?
And how does it make you feel? Are you spending time with people that energize you? Are you doing things that energize you, or is that the opposite? And you know that phrase, and everyone I'm sure in your network know, you are the average person or the 5% that are the closest to you. If you surround yourself with people that push you to get better, then that's going to energize you and most likely make you more productive.
Say a big shout out to Mary Rose, Yvonne Hyman, and Amy Iram, because I spent a majority of my day with them today. They energize me. They push me today to do something that I wasn't ready to do, which I'm now going to apply for. And so you're right, being around those people, they energize you, but they also move me closer to my goals. So that's value added time spent, right?
Exactly.
I love it. I just put that all together with what you're teaching us.
And the cool thing about coming back to auditing your time, you can see it from so many different ways, and we uncovered two already. How, like, what are you spending time on, and looking at it from a value-added, non-value-added perspective, but also from an energy standpoint. Another way is to look at each individual task that you've been doing in these 2 weeks, and looking at what you can eliminate, what you can automate, and what you can delegate. So these are like 3 questions that I'm always trying to ask myself, because people get busy all the time. But when you look at what they're doing, I always ask, what are you busy about? And when you get some answers to that question, what are you busy about? And you look and you challenge why you're doing things, you are always uncovering activities that you shouldn't be doing in the first place, that are not necessarily bringing you results. So out of 40 hours in your work week, for example, not to say 50 or 60, I'm sure that there is at least 25%, if not 50% of tasks that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. And that's the benchmark is incredibly amazing on the amount of time that we spend that is completely unproductive, meaning that it doesn't bring value that you could eliminate. So that's the first question you can ask. What can I eliminate? So you can already push away some time and save some time by doing that. But on everything that you cannot eliminate directly, you can try to see if you can automate it. And what do I mean by automating it? everyone kind of knows what this means. It means that you do something, you work, you invest a little bit of time today. So you're going to spend optically a little bit more time on something to prepare to automate, but in the long run, that's going to make you save time. So it's always answering the question, and I love this question. What is the one thing that I can do today, such as by doing it, everything will be easier or unnecessary? I think I need to repeat that.
Repeat it one more time.
What is the one thing I can do today, such that by doing it, everything else will be unnecessary or easier?
I love it. So I love automation. I'm embracing the heck out of it. I work with a business efficiency coach who's helped me last year to start the automation process, because it's scary as a business owner to like, oh, I'm just going to put this on autopilot. Because let's be real, like it's great to automate stuff, but tech doesn't always work. Technology can fail us. So, you know, it's a little scary to let go, but I'm learning to let go. One easy thing just from a personal level that you can automate is bill paying and savings. Like I just started automating, like it's just pay the bills automatically, put money automatically into our savings accounts. So that's one thing like that is just done that saves us a little time. But, you know, I think people might look at this and say, well, I'm not going to save 3 hours right now. So why should I do any of this? And I'd like to encourage everyone out there, every time that you do something that saves you 5 or 10 minutes, when you do 5 or 10 of those, then look at the number, what is that called? Like multiplication of that, you're going to save hours a week.
Exactly. People think that improvement is like kind of a peak. Yeah, you're gonna have something that, wow, I'm gonna save instantly like 20 hours.
The process.
Improvement compounds. Improvement is by increments. And I like saying be 1% better every day. Because after 365 days, you're gonna be a
big
freaking
improvement,
beast.
Right? So that's like making one healthy lifestyle change a day, or making one change a day that gets you towards your goal of automating or delegating. I wrote down, again, I just want to repeat. So Hugo said, what can you eliminate? So I could eliminate Netflix on the weekends, just saying, and finish reading those business books. What can you delegate? I'm pretty good at delegating.
I'm not at delegating. If I may stop you,
yes.
The second step is not delegating. The second step is automating.
Automate. I wrote it in the wrong order then.
And
what
that's important. The order is very important, because you don't want to automate something that you could have eliminated in the first place.
I'll need to go back and correct that. So we'll make that a post, you guys. We'll talk about what can you eliminate, what can you automate, and what can you delegate. So that's what you're saying. Okay, got it. I didn't understand that the order was just as important as the task.
Yeah, because if you start automating something that shouldn't be done in the first place, you're gonna automate and spend money on something that you could have just stopped doing.
So do you have any examples, like real life examples that you can share with the audience from either yourself or a client that you've worked with? Because I really feel like when we share the story of what someone went through and how they came out on the other side, that it makes this whole process seem more relatable.
Yeah, sure. So I have the example that I have in mind right now is in corporate environment. I had a client that was doing reports. You know, all these weekly reports that you spend time on. Maybe you spend like 3 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours, depending on what's your role, on updating these reports. So that client was spending 10 hours on just updating reports every single week. That was like a quarter, like 25% of her job. So she thought that by automating this report, she would save some time. And she did. From 10 hours, I don't remember exactly the numbers, but she came down to 7 hours or to 6 hours. But when you look a little bit more, so optically, that's good. She saved 4 hours. But when you look at who is actually looking at the reports? What is the value added that these reports are bringing to the business, to your corporation, to your group? And if when you see that not all the reports are being seen, and so that reports are not being used, meaning that it's a pure waste, instead of spending time trying to automate that, you could have stopped doing it. And I don't know exactly the numbers, but instead of moving from 10 to 6 hours, she spent actually at the end, she spent like around 5 hours. So she saved an extra hour. So that's why the order is very important.
Well, that makes sense.
And the order is also important when it comes to delegating. You don't want to delegate something that shouldn't be done.
That makes sense. And I think a lot of times we get stuck doing things that the way we've always done them without really looking at them to see, does it still make sense that we're running those reports that nobody looks at? Or does it make sense from an entrepreneur business point? Does it make sense that I'm posting social media on every single platform when I'm really only engaging on 3 of them? I made a decision today that I haven't even told anybody yet, like my VA, but I'm no longer going to post on Twitter, because I don't do anything else on Twitter. So I'm not delegating, I'm eliminating all social media posts from Twitter. It'll be when necessary, but right now it's queued up and I'm like, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So,
and starting by this first step of eliminating, that comes back to the 80-20 rule, right? What is the 20% of my activities that drive 80% of the results? And if Twitter doesn't bring you the results, it means that it's in the 80% of you spend your time on, but doesn't bring you results. So you should focus. You should double down on You should
LinkedIn
double down
and Facebook and a little bit Instagram. I'm dipping my toes in there, but yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook for my groups and stuff, and then YouTube this year to really start getting the videos optimized up there. But yeah, Twitter.
But that's a great example on like what platform you need to choose. And I think for 2020, for example, I'm gonna double down on LinkedIn because that's where I get most.
Yeah, you get. So I just to share, I was listening to a podcast from another LinkedIn expert. And I was listening to a podcast from a LinkedIn expert, and then I was reading Social Media Examiner. They do a lot of articles, and the platforms that they predict, like the hot platforms of 2020. I'm just saying, you guys, it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like the #1 platform. People were talking about TikTok. They think it's going to be just like Snapchat. It's like, whoo, something shiny, bright, and new, and it'll die down. But LinkedIn, Facebook's not in the top 2. I think it was LinkedIn and Instagram maybe. But I know LinkedIn was like #1. And when I started training on LinkedIn, I always referred to it as the ugly stepchild of the social media platforms, because it was clunky. Nobody wanted to be there. Nobody knew how to use it. People just put their resume up there, basically. So when I started, that's kind of how it was. It was a job-seeking platform. And now I'm like, it's a beautiful swan. It's fabulous. Everyone should be on it. So I'm glad.
So look at your time spent on 2 platforms and compare. I know that if I spend 5 hours on LinkedIn per week compared to if I spend 5 hours on Facebook per week, I know that I will have more leads on LinkedIn. So it means that I should prioritize and double down on that. That brings me data.
Absolutely. I love it. So we're talking about a lot of things tonight. We've talked about auditing where your time goes, so you can decide where you want to spend your time, what goals, what action steps every day are going to get you one step closer to your goals. We talked about focus on value added. So is that where I'm spending my time, is that adding value? And we talked about your system of, and I want to make sure I say it in the right order. What can you eliminate? What can you automate? And what can you delegate it? And you guys, Hugo corrected me that we need to do this in that specific order, which now I understand. And then let's move on to our last tip, which is treat feedback as a gift. What do you mean by that?
So Feedback, where I come from in my consulting background, I've been trained on Lean Six Sigma methodologies, and coming from Toyota and everything that relates to process improvement. And feedback, when we talk about feedback, you can see it in many different ways. And in that mindset, feedback is treated as a gift, meaning that it's a very valued thing to do in order to get better. In order to get better from an efficiency standpoint when you're working on processes in corporate, but also when it comes to self-improvement. Feedback is the best vehicle for improvement. Always my recommendation to anyone that I talk to from a business standpoint is to always seek for feedback, and seek for feedback in a very genuine way, meaning that you do something. Let's say I'm putting some videos out there on LinkedIn. I've been trying to be very active on LinkedIn and put some videos, and I try to ask for feedback. What do you like in my videos? What do you don't like in my videos? What should I do more of? And what you really don't like and you don't want me to see, you don't want me to do anymore. So asking this question is to have a feedback loop that helps me understand more my audience, understand what is bringing value. Remember, bringing value means contributing to someone else's goal. Is my video bringing value to people? If they have a positive feedback, it means that I should continue doing something. But if I have a negative feedback, I should maybe try to pivot and do something else, and that will allow me to get better. So feedback, whether it's positive or negative, helps you direct and get these improvement increments we were talking about earlier.
I love it. So we all need to embrace feedback, whether it's good feedback or not so good feedback. We just need to take that as an opportunity to learn where we should be focusing our time, whether we need to make a change if the feedback wasn't stellar. And if it is stellar, then we need to keep focusing on that, right? If everyone likes what we're doing, our businesses. You've really shared a lot of great tips tonight.
Thank you. So if I can add a little bit on one thing, I don't know if you guys know Lean Startup, the book from Eric Ries. I think, you know what? I don't know if you see it. This is one of the books I have all the time. Lean Startup. Lean is the methodology I'm using all the time to have process improvement. But
Lean Startup
always use the power of feedback. We always talk about MVP, minimum valuable product. How can you release a product very quickly to get quickly feedback so that it makes you get better, much more quicker than if you were waiting and developing kind of in a tunnel effect and never actually releasing it too late. And at the end of the day, who's going to get better quicker? The one that is seeking feedback the quickest.
So I put the book title in the comments, but if you have a link to the book or something, I make sure I did it right. I put book recommendation, Lean Startup. But Hugo, if you can go back after the show and put that in, that'd be great. And you guys, if you have any questions, please let us know. Or if you have any tips, you know what? We're always open to learn what your tips are, what is working for you guys, right? And so Hugo and I promise to go back in and answer any questions and engage with you. And you guys, if you're watching the replay, you're important to us too. So just type in #replay so that we know, and we'll go back in. Yep, #replay. And we'll go back in and we'll engage with you as well. And of course, you guys, if you're not connected with Hugo and I on LinkedIn, that's step number one. Please connect with us and send us an email or a note, as they call it on LinkedIn, saying, hey, I saw the live show on productivity and time management. I'd love to add you to my network. That's all you have to do, and we'll accept your request to connect and to help you grow in your productivity and time management. So Hugo, thank you so much for for being on the show tonight. Why don't you tell people where they should connect with you? Obviously, I just plugged LinkedIn, but if there's another platform, or do you have any specials coming up? Are you talking anywhere? Do you have any workshops? What's going on with you?
So yes, if you want to connect with me, connect on LinkedIn. I'm I think I'm several times a day on LinkedIn. Maybe I should be less on LinkedIn. Maybe I should get better with my time on social media at this point. But yes, what I'm working on actually is perfect timing, because tomorrow I'm holding a free training on the 5 strategy to help you skyrocket your productivity at work. This is perfect if you work in a corporate job and you feel like you spend too much time at work, 50 to 60 hours a week, and by doing that, you are a little bit too stressed, overwhelmed, scattered, and it impacts your personal life. If it impacts your personal life, meaning you don't have enough time for your family, for your spouse, for your children, or you don't have enough time for self-care or for maybe a passion or side business you want to start. These 5 strategies will help you be more productive and reshuffle your time so that you can save a little bit more time to do these things. And tomorrow during this free training, so that's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time. If you're interested, I think I'm going to link it in the notes.
The link. Go ahead and put the link in the notes or in the comments afterwards, so people can sign up, because who doesn't want to manage their time better and be more productive and have a more balanced life. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress, but these were really good reminders of, I especially like the value added. Is this adding value to my life? Is it adding value to achieving my goals? So I'm really walking away with that nugget.
So this training, it's going to be just an hour. It's going to be totally free. I'm going to send the link so that you can register. And during this training, I will also talk about the program that I'm launching tomorrow. So I will start the enrollment for the Time Back Bootcamp, TBB.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so that's going to be a program. It's an 8 weeks transformation that will help you get back in control of your time and will make you save 10 to 20 hours a week. So you will be able to save up to 1,000 hours a year with this proven transformation methodology.
I love it.
I'm so excited. I'm only taking 20 students, so you better grab your spots, because I don't want to take more than 20 students. I want to really focus on
I love it. So we just had someone come on, Michael Todd. As a lawyer, we had to change people a lot. We had to charge people a lot of money every 6 minutes. So I had to write down a code for their number and what we did. At the end of the day, we had to have 80 60-minute units accounted for. It was a really great discipline. So you've got someone here that does this in their professional life. And I think that, I'm going to challenge you guys all for the next 2 weeks, do an audit of your time, come back in and let us know what you learned from that. So Hugo, that is really great. You guys sign up for his free training. What do you have to lose, right? An hour of your time, invest in yourselves tomorrow, sign up for his training, see if the course is the right fit for you, and then come back and let us know how it went. And then you guys finally, I just want to sign off and let you guys know, I also have 2 courses launching or relaunching. So if you're a job seeker, I want to help you. I want to help you so much that I created an e-course at a ridiculously low price, because hiring a career coach, even myself, can be quite expensive. So I created an e-course that we're launching at $297, and it's a 6-week course, and you get live office hours. Me, a career coach. And I charge $225 an hour. So this is a ridiculous offer. And just like Hugo, I'm only taking 20 students for the winter launch here. And if you're interested in that, I'm just going to drop the link down below. So if you're interested, and if you have any questions, this isn't a buy a course, never see the instructor. You're going to see my face every week, and I'm going to ride your butt to make sure that you get the homework and the tasks done so you can find your dream career. And for my entrepreneurs out there, I got you covered. I have my entrepreneur course, how to turn your LinkedIn profile into a lead magnet and attract your ideal clients. Instead of chasing after them, they're going to be chasing after you, and you're going to have to turn them away because your calendar will be booked. I have step-by-step tutorials for you, and I'll drop both those links down below so I can serve you in either capacity. And of course, I offer one-on-one services as well for both clients, job seekers, and business owners. but the course is the way to go. You get all that you get with me one-on-one. You just get to do it at your own pace. It's not do it yourself. What is that? DIY, do it yourself. This is done with you. So the do it yourself course, no, I'm a done with you course. I'm going to give you the assignments, but we're going to talk about them every week. So you guys, this has been really great. January is all about setting your goals, being productive, managing your time, and getting organized. And so our next guest, Hugo knows, Melissa, she is, what is the name of her company?
Let's Get You Organized.
Let's Get You Organized. I was thinking of the Christmas thing I went to. Let's Get You Organized. And she's going to be talking about getting organized on our next show coming up in 2 weeks. Is that a horn? Coming up in 2 weeks. And I was like, was that a car horn? Gotta love live shows. Woohoo! She'll be talking about getting organized and minimalizing, like Marie Kondo style, which I know was a big thing, and I started it, but I never finished it. So you know what? Join us then. Let's keep this up. In 2 weeks, you can do your time audit. You can be more productive. And then 2 weeks, you're going to be ready to add a new element, and that'll be watching Melissa and I talk about getting organized for 2020. So you guys,
that's great.
Yeah, it's been really great. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you online. Ciao.
Thank you. Au revoir.